How much water are you drinking? I think everybody knows it's really important to drink a lot of water, but is it good? Is it healthy? Do you pay attention to it? We're going to talk about the importance of all that today with my guest, Gary Spencer of Water Medics. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
Good. A little nervous?
A little nervous.
That's okay. It's just you, me, and a couple thousand people.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Gary, what I want to do is I want to talk today and let our audience know like who you are, what you do, why you're passionate about what you've been doing, and you've been doing it for 20 years, so I know it's got to be really important to you.
It is.
Right?
I found that most people drink water, so that does help.
Yes, that is fascinating.
And what I found when I got into the business is it's a growing field.
Yeah.
It's a growing field. More
Right.
and more people are interested in, not just water, but maybe cleaner water.
Right.
And healthier water.
Yes.
There's a lot of functions that water does in our bodies, but that's not it either. We use water a lot every day. Showering, dishes, laundry. Everything is affected by water. It's the second most thing used besides air in our home.
Right.
And so it's really important. And if it's not so good, it can damage and cost us money and can damage our health.
Right. Okay, so here's what I want to know. Okay, so since we use so much water every day, most of us are not giving that much thought to the water, right?
Right.
We just grab any bottle of water.
Right.
This morning I stopped by the gas station and picked up a bottle of water because I was thirsty, and I don't even know what kind I drank.
Right. That's the problem.
Yeah, and then there's the water that we just get out of our faucet, of course, or some of us, will drink water when we're out in restaurants or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So I want to know, how much attention should we really be paying to the water that we're drinking, and when water's being used in other things like our laundry? Does it really matter if, for instance, the water that we get out of our faucet maybe isn't ideal possibly to drink, but is it okay to boil pasta in? Is it okay to wash our clothes in and wash our cars? So what do you think?
If you really start at the molecular level, water, if it's not clean and full of stuff, how does it flush out our toxins in our body? How does it clean our cells if it's already full? So one of the things we have to test for is the amount. It's really the load of contaminants that we're taking in on a daily basis. So if we can lower that, our body can function better. If we can lower that, our clothes can get cleaner. They can get rinsed clean. How do you rinse it clean if it's full of stuff? And one of the tests that I do in a home is I actually do a comparison of filtered water versus non-filtered water, and I put in, it's kind of like what I call a glue. It makes everything that's not water stick together, and it falls out, and you can actually see the amounts. And then you got to rinse that. You got to rinse your dishes with that. You got to rinse your clothes with that. Your water heater has to run with that. So it may not be poisonous. It may not be affecting your health, except for the volume of how much we use and how much we're taking in, that now your body has to do something with it. So if we can lower that, or at least improve it dramatically, then you're going to improve your health. You're going to improve showers. Showers are starting to become more important because the amount that we spray into the air that we breathe in.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought of that.
And most people, I know a lot of people that take showers for 20 minutes, and most of them don't hold their breath that long.
What?
Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's shocking.
So if they don't hold their breath, where's it going? Where are the chemicals that are in the city water? The chlorine, the chloramines, and things that the city puts in the water to sanitize the water. It's still now it's airborne.
Okay.
And we breathe it in, and our lungs are not adapt to filtering as much as like our stomach has ability to process things better. So now it's just straight in to our bloodstream.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase.
Yeah.
What do we do about it?
I always say you put a barrier between you and your water supply so you're not the filter.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, all right.
For example, your filters go bad. Your personal filters, your kidney and liver and things like that, they're a lot harder to change than my filters.
What?
Can you believe that? So if we test the water right from the bat, right off the bat, right out of the tap where we're going to get fresh, what is coming into your water? And then we put a system in at your main water where it comes in, and we remove these contaminants, especially the chemicals that the city puts in. They're doing a job. They're killing bacteria, but are they still needed when we drink them? Are they still needed? No. So they did their job. Now we can stop that, and now we can use cleaner, purified, more filtered water to do our daily functions in water. The problem with water is we use a lot of it.
Yes. Tons.
And it's for most of our lives.
Yeah.
Or pretty much the rest of our lives. So
Right.
these small microscopic toxins can build up. One of the things that I did is I went to a symposium on Alzheimer's, and in the beginning they had 2 projections on the screen, and they had all these heavy metals and things listed, and they had the different numbers and things, and I didn't know what they were until the guy stood up and he said, this one was from a patient's brain from Alzheimer's after he got, after he died. They checked it out and saw all these different heavy metals in his water, and this one was from his water.
Oh my goodness.
So if you get these microscopic contents over decades, where do they go? If they're constantly in you.
Right.
So you have to choose. So you choose at the grocery store. You choose when you buy bottled water. And a lot of people go by taste. The problem is not if there's contaminants in the water, you can't really taste them. So I had a chiropractor. This is a great story. I had a chiropractor who told his patient that she should be drinking, I don't know if I should mention this, but it was Evian water.
Oh.
And Evian is funny because if you spell it backwards, it spells naive. Literally. But what's funny is it tests a little higher than what I would want in my drinking water. So if I'm going to pay for drinking water, I want it to come out real good.
Right.
So he was offended that I told I actually told her that I wouldn't, give it to my dog. But whatever.
You're so shy.
Yeah. So he didn't like that very much. So he had this display put out of about 30 different bottles of water, but they had the labels on the bottom hidden, and they were in different, and the same glasses. And he said, I want you to test them. And out of the 30 different bottles of water, there were 2 that I would have drank.
No way.
I do a simple TDS test. The TDS test tells me the total load of contaminants in that water. Now, I don't care if it's good for me or bad for me. Water needs to be pure for us to be able to absorb it, for us to be able to flush our cells intercellularly. So I want a certain level. I want a certain level that I don't have to filter in my own body. So 2 qualified. And a lot of people ask me what that 2 is. And I say, it's valuable. How much money you got? No.
I got a quarter.
One was Aquafina and one was Dasani. Isn't that funny?
Dasani, huh?
Dasani. Now, why was that? Because most of them were way over the load of contaminants. And whether there's calcium, simple, inert type of a contaminant that people think they need calcium in their water. The problem with calcium is it's not, we don't get calcium from rocks, even though most of the calcium that's in the water is from rocks. So we have to have calcium from our food that has gone through photosynthesis and now can be absorbed into our body. So if we could get calcium from rocks, we'd go around sucking on rocks all day. But we can't. So what's the use of it?
Right.
It's just a filler that fills up our cells and blocks our ability to absorb water. So when I look at the tests, I look at the amount. Dasani, Aquafina always test within that 0 to 50 level. What's great about the water treatment system I put in a home is it never goes to 0. 0 is very acidic, and over time, we don't really need to be drinking acid. But we also want to completely lower that load. The EPA maximum contamination level is 500. I want 0 to 50. Those always fall in that. Everything else is very hard for our body to absorb constantly on a daily basis. What's neat about Dasani is they add a magnesium filler in their water. What that does for a bottle of water is puts this barrier between you and that plastic, so it's not absorbing as much of that plastic, and now you're not drinking it. My biggest fear in water is finding out 10 years from now what we shouldn't have been drinking 10 years ago.
Right.
And plastic's going to be one of them.
Yeah.
We really are starting to learn more, but we don't want to keep absorbing plastic. I'm finding out it gets in our joints, it gets in different things, and it kind of makes things not work as good. Let's drink water
Yeah.
If we got to drink bottled water, let's drink a water that is a good level, that low level of contaminants, but also that buffer. So we're not absorbing the plastic.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's go from ideal world, best case choices, you know what I mean? Like, and then kind of step down, because I think there's probably a lot of people who, let's just face it, there's an extra expense in what you're talking about, and so, everybody's thinking, well, I have to have my $150 cable bill or whatever. And I got
we got priorities here.
We have to spend $300 a month on the cell phone bill.
It's not like I really need water, really. Come on.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So like they have these big chunks of expenses already laid out, and they're going to sometimes discount what you're talking about just because they don't see it. They don't see the chemicals in the water, or really understand it. So, so let's just talk about like what would be first and foremost in a perfect world. This is what we would have in our homes. This is what we would use when we go out. Because so many times we're not just drinking water at home. We are drinking water at work.
Right.
We go out, to eat. And so what about the water that is being used in for like the soda machines? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So anyway, so best case scenario, what do we do about water?
Here's the thing. If you're on city water, they always have to add a chemical. Some cities, like Peoria, add chloramines, which is chlorine and ammonia. Some cities in East Peoria, they have been forced by the EPA to go to the ammonia, so it's just chlorine. But it's a lot. And there's a lot of other things. So if you can prevent it from having to be breathed in every time you're in the shower, if you can prevent it from having it be in the dishwasher. OSHA says if they could, they'd outlaw dishwashers.
What?
Yes. Why? Because you've got this heating machine that's going to heat up this water to a high amount, which vaporizes the water and makes it turn into a vapor, which is airborne. And that's already full of chemicals from the city. And then they add this big blob of chemicals from what you bought at the grocery store, and they heat it all up, and then you open it up, and you put it in your breathing space.
Yes.
And you breathe it.
Yeah.
And your lungs don't really have a defense. So now it goes directly into your bloodstream, and now your body has to figure out what to do with it. And some people don't act very well on that, and that's why maybe we have 3 hospitals in Peoria. I don't know. All I know is that a lot of people have allergic reactions to some things and have physical reactions to some things. So we need to lower that.
Yeah.
So we know that every city has chemicals, so why don't we just remove them at the entrance to our house?
Okay.
So in my system, we have 4 different medias. The first media acts as a pre-filter. And it actually acts as a buffer to remove free chlorine. Free chlorine is damaging not only to yourself, to every appliance you have, but to the softening system itself, or to the filtering system that you have. So if we can protect that, it can last a lot longer.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how long you planned on using water, but
at least a few more years.
Yeah, most people don't go cold turkey. So we want to make sure that we have a system that's going to last a long time. So that first media, if it can protect against the chemicals of breaking down other medias, the second media, which we use, is a filtering media that's going to remove all the chemicals. It's going to remove these things that could be damaging in such high levels, to where it also filters the water for over 5,000 different contaminants. We don't know what's in the water. And see, that's the thing that I always worry about, is what I don't know.
Yes.
I know there's things in the water that aren't good, but there's a lot of things in the water I don't realize that are good, that are not good, that are getting removed from this media. So then the third media is softening. A lot of people buy water softeners, but that's all it ever does. A problem with the water softener is it softens the water, but we need more now. So we still got to include that.
Okay.
So we soften it, and then our last media that we use is a sanitizer. It actually sanitizes the water passing through, and actually sanitizes the unit so that it doesn't grow anything inside of it. And now we have this great barrier. Now here's the worst part about it. This is the part that people don't realize. People could be spending $20 or $30 a month on bottled water, showering in this nasty stuff, washing in this stuff, dishes in this stuff, and then drinking bottled water. When my system would cost them about $30 a month to have for the whole house and for drinking.
No way.
So if you could just cut out the bottled water, use that same money for something for your whole house, your whole family, everything that you use water for, and at the end of the month have the same amount of money.
$30?
It's actually $31 a month.
Oh my gosh. I'm thinking you're going to say like 131.
No.
You know, I was like afraid to know the answer to this question.
No.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I always
That's
ask
amazing.
people go, well, how much is the whole package? Well, my whole package can differ. That's why I do the tests. But right at $31 is where I'm always at, or less. But the thing about it is, you're spending that money anyway. Why not do the best for your family?
Right.
And we can do that with our water treatment system that is, it's second to none. Most people, if they wanted to do the same thing that I do, they'd have to have multiple different units, which increases the cost every time you add a unit. And they all use hundreds of gallons of water dumping down the drain.
Oh, wow.
Mine on average uses 17. So we can really treat the water the way it should be, have it for many, many years, 25-year warranty. That's pretty good. And at the same time, this whole decade or 2 decades, you've got to use water. These contaminants that you're not removing go somewhere. They build up in our body, and then what do we do with them?
Right.
Toxic overload. All these things that chiropractors and different naturopaths are talking about. Well, one of the main things we can do, it's in our water. We can lower that load and make it so our body doesn't have to, work so hard.
Right. Well, that's amazing. I mean, what a relief, to know that there's something that is so economical and yet such a vital part of our everyday lives,
Right.
that you can.
And what people
help
don't
with.
realize is it's free to get started. And to get started is just to get your water tested. I do a water test, and I have this form right here, and I will actually do a complete report for you and leave it with you. And now these tests, if you actually took it to a lab, would cost you over $140
Oh, yeah.
for those same tests that I'll do for free. Now you have a starting point. Now you have a place where what's good and what's bad, and you'll know. And it's written very easy to understand, and so you know where you can be. And then I can give you some suggestions and some costs on what it would cost, and then you can decide if you want. But
Right.
if you don't start there, then, I tell people I have tap water that is just tests terrible. Looks clear.
Right. Of course.
And I get Aquafina water that tests good, looks clear. If I was to take this water and put it in this bottle, most people wouldn't know, but your body knows.
Right.
Your body knows. So we have to know. And so everything I base on what I sell or what I suggest is based on testing, not on taste. There's certain products in the market that you attach to your faucet or that you have in a pitcher that the water actually tastes better. Don't let me test it because you will not be happy with it. I've had many people go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's testing so badly. So what is it doing? Okay, it's improving the taste. So my
So
suggestion.
that's it. It's just the taste.
My suggestion is don't trust your taste buds.
Okay. So full disclosure here. I feel like every week this is a therapy session or something for
Yes.
me. Anyway, doctor.
Yeah, medic.
All right. Anyway, okay. So probably about 3 years ago, my son was like, "Mom, this water it tastes terrible." And I was always like, I know it could taste better, but I had other things, other priorities. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so he said, please get, for whatever reason, it was his idea, but a Brita pitcher. Okay.
Okay.
So I got it, and he was like, thank you. This tastes so much better.
Yes.
And now in my mind, I know that you're out there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I know that there's some better option, but this is good enough for now is what I was thinking.
A lot of people think that way.
And so anyway, I was talking to my mom recently, and a few things around like their water, but one is that they just drink the tap water. They don't give any thought. My
What's
dad.
their number? It might be emergency call. No.
They always buy the bottled water in the case, and my dad, he still works, so he takes a couple of bottles with him to work every day, and it's not either of those good brands. It's probably like the Walmart brand or something, But anyway, so she just mentioned that all of her friends, other senior citizens, also have a Brita pitcher.
Right.
You know?
Because it does the job of better
How we
tasting.
taste. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I call my water fresh squeezed. So it's fresh right out of the tap. It's tastes good, tastes good, and it's healthy.
Yeah.
And it actually makes you happy.
Can I tell you how much of a pain in the butt that pitcher is?
It is, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind.
Now,
Because
here's the part that grosses people out. What a lot of people don't realize is that thing they call a filter is like a sponge. So it holds as much as it can, even though it's letting a lot go. And then you're adding water to it, which is water pressure that actually in a lot
releases
of
it.
Yes.
Oh,
And I can't
gross.
tell you how many people have been in their home where that or their one on their faucet or even the refrigerator filter is testing worse than out of the tap.
no.
Yes.
You are
Worse.
just killing me
And
with
I'm
this
like,
stuff.
I can't believe they can sell this thing. I mean, yes, no doubt. It's removing things that we can taste, like chlorine. Chlorine is emitted and has an odor to it. So it removes that odor really well. But I test it and it's disappointing. And so it's a start. It's better. It's probably better than the tap. But a lot of times when the actual tests come out, they're higher. But most of the time they're at least as high and maybe just a little better.
Yeah.
But they're not good enough. And just not good enough.
Well, filling up that pitcher, like I do it like 3 times a day, because I drink a lot of water. My son drinks not enough, but I mean, he's drinking water. We only drink water, and it's just crazy.
Well, here's the thing. Just so you know, when a baby is born, their intercellular hydration inside of their cells are 100%. And that lasts a good portion of growing up.
Okay.
To about 18. And then we start to lose that intercellular hydration.
Why?
It's age and water.
Okay.
The quality of the water is so dense with whatever that it's very hard to get it into our cells. So the average retired person's at 15% hydration, intercellular. Death comes at 9%.
Oh my gosh.
Most people who die as an old age is because of dehydration, intercellular. You can have all kinds of water on the outside. If it can't get in to your cells, it can't flush out the toxins, and it can't bring in the nutrients.
Wow.
So if we can bring the water down to a quality that is very, very low in this load of contaminants that blocks that, then your water is able to flush out and bring in. And that's how we stay hydrated.
So I do a cleanse 2 or 3 times a year. And I was just thinking, when did we start doing cleanses? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't remember Grandma doing this.
my grandmother did not do
Are
cleanses.
you kidding me?
I'm like, what is that?
Drink out of the hose and be quiet.
Exactly. But there are so many more toxins
Yeah.
in the air, in our food, which is probably the worst of all. But now the water, even, I mean, it's
Tell you a little story about our water, where we get it. Starts near Chicago. Chicago pulls their water out of Lake Michigan, which is very
Okay.
deep,
Okay.
allows contaminants to settle out, pulls it out. They got unlimited source. It's really good starting water. And then they
Okay.
dump their waste down the river that actually they reverse the flow of it, and now it flows into the Illinois River. Okay, so then every town along the way, now their only source is either the river or the aquifer, and the problem with the aquifer, it rides right along the river, and I test the aquifer, and I get very similar contaminants to the river. Not as much, but it's getting some contaminants in it. So it rides right along, and so every town pulls their water out of the river or right below it, which is the aquifer, and then they dump their waste in the river, and it goes on and on and on and on, and it hits us. We have to have this water for fire, for industry. So they're doing everything they can to make that water
Right.
as best they can. But if we want to take that next step, we have to take it upon ourselves. And so if we want to help protect our family and our own household, then we put a simple water treatment system in front that's not going to cost us $1 million, but it's going to do that fine tuning that our water needs to make it so that we can have great water in our home.
Yeah. So either move to Michigan
Yeah, no,
or call Gary with
too
Water
cold.
Medics.
you're right. That's right. That's right.
Okay.
So free water test is where we start. I can give you a whole different options of what would be great. You can take it, you can leave it, you can take advantage of it, or you can just, now.
Yeah.
And if you can't get there, then how are we going to really pick out anything that would be really good?
Right.
And so a lot of people take it for granted. Don't take it for granted.
Okay.
Don't take the water for granted. I know it's always there, but
Yeah, definitely. Well, the thing is, I don't know you well, but I've known you for a while, and you've never come across as being a pushy kind of person. So,
Absolutely not.
I have full faith that, you're not going to push people. You just inform them. You're doing your test, right?
I want to provide the best water treatment system in the world, and so that's what I do. But I also provide a whole bunch of other options. But the best one makes sense financially. It makes sense for what's in the water to remove things we don't want, and
Right.
it also makes sense when we know we're going to be using this water for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So it's important. But also, I've been in the business for 20 years. My kids grew up in this business. Got a great story. I used to have a water filtration system that I used to sell, and I'd buy it in parts, and I'd put it in the basement, and my kids would get paid $10 for every one they put together.
Cute.
And they're 10 years old, and they're putting these systems together. It's great. And I'd hook them up and hook the water up to it and leak everywhere.
Oh, no.
They tried. They got it together. I just tighten everything up. We're good to go. But that's got them
cute.
started. Now they are as good, if not better, than I am.
Oh.
At 23 and 25, they have a passion for it.
Yeah.
Somebody has to have a passion for it.
Yes. Right.
Because in certain areas, when they have to do what they call burn-offs in the Peoria or city waters, they get a lot of chemicals to try and clean out. And in that case, it's hard.
Yeah.
You smell it, and it can burn your eyes. We know there's stuff in the water. There are a lot of things that you don't ever taste, smell, or see.
Right.
If we can test it, we can remove it, and then go back and retest and prove it is gone. You are not the filter anymore.
Right.
So it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people.
Okay. I'm a believer.
Yes. When do I want me to sign up for that?
Thank you so much, Gary. And, if you want to connect with Gary, I highly recommend that you do. Give him a call. What's your number?
309-360-3995. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but
and I'll put it in the description in a little bit. But also connect with him on Facebook. It's Water Medics, and website?
watermedics.com.
How about that?
And my
Watermedics.com.
email is gary@watermedics.com.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm so glad. Thank you for watching today, and thank you for being my guest and sharing this information. It's so important.
It is important. So.
And everybody wants to live healthier as long as we're here. And there's so many things going against us. So at least this is something that we can do.
I want to live until I die, not be aching and as old age builds up. So this is
absolutely.
a start.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next week.
PeoriaLife.com